Hey everybody, it's Zach Humphrey with Bluegrass Rentals of EKY. You're with me again in my office today. This is Bluegrass Rentals of EKY, going from full-time registered nurse to full-time real estate investor, regardless of how long that takes. And that is what this channel is all about. You're following along with me, both with educational content, as well as vlogs and shorts and things of that nature that I put out there, sharing what investment knowledge I have come to learn with you so that you might be able to avoid some of the mistakes I've made, as well as take some of the positives away from my perspective. And hopefully that helps you become a better real estate investor and helps you achieve your goals, if that's to leave your 9-to-5, to supplement your 9-to-5, but to get involved in the game of real estate investing. That's what this channel is all about. I really believe in the power of real estate investing. I believe in it so much I have put a lot of money, a majority of my money, on the line to succeed in that aspect, while I seek to gain financial freedom from my registered nursing career, which I love and have been blessed by. That's me and my wife's goal. That's our family, that's our household's goal from a financial perspective. First, to honor God, and then to gain time freedom and freedom of time choice. And that's what this is all about. Today, I want to talk to you about something very important, and that is the pros and the cons of investing in what is called ground-up construction. Should you buy your real estate investment already built, like a built home or an apartment or a condo, whatever it is, it's already built and ready for you to purchase, or to buy some land and do what's ground-up construction? Pros and cons of ground-up construction is what I want to talk to you about today. I've done both of these aspects. I've had an investment house, a 3-bed, 2-bath house. I've had 2 apartments, 2-bed, 1-bath apartments. And now I have also bought land, and I'm currently building our ground-up construction A-frame, the Victory Falls A-frame in the Red River Gorge. I'll try to maybe pop a photo up here in a second. It's currently under construction. And as you've watched some of my videos in the past, both either my shorts or you've read my story on Instagram or watched some of my older videos, you know we faced a lot of difficulties with that. And I have learned personally both of the cons and of the negatives of ground-up construction. I hope to share that with you today from my personal perspective. And I also, some things, maybe pitfalls and things to avoid. So that's what we're talking about today. Ground-up construction, pros and cons as a real estate investor. Hit that subscription button down below if you don't mind. It really helps me gain viewership on this channel as I seek to want to grow to help others. I'm a far ways away from ever making money off of YouTube. That is not the end goal here. The end goal is knowledge sharing, relationship development with others, and making friends and maybe partnerships in the future that help us both gain the knowledge we need and the power we need to become what we want to become for our families financially. So today, I'll start off with the positives of ground-up construction. And the first major positive I could think of, number one in a positive, is equity creation. Our Victory Falls A-frame, our land was $30,000. Our construction loan was $285,000. Our pre-build comes back at $385,000, and we have comps showing us that the property would likely appraise once finished between $400,000 and I would say $415,000. We have comps showing us that window right there. So from a $285,000 construction loan, I have now got a cabin worth potentially $420,000 when I'm done. You see those major differences between $420 and $285? That's called the equity, baby. And that is what ground-up construction is all about. That big, massive number there was created by me doing 8 to 12 months. In this case, way more than 8 to 12 months because of the crappy contractors that first took advantage of us. But on an average, it usually takes about 8 to 12 months to finish your build project and get it ready for Airbnb or get it up and running as a long-term rental. And the amount of equity recreated right there, $420,000 minus the $285,000, that gives you this gap, this amount of money that was essentially created. Let's do the math on that real quick because I am no mathematician. We created somewhere around $100,000 to $135,000 from doing the ground-up construction. That would not have happened had I bought a cabin already built. If I had bought this A-frame finished, it would have probably cost me between $400,000 and $420,000 to purchase brand new finished. I would be walking into it with little to no equity since this market is on a significant upside right now. It's likely a seller would not be motivated to sell this at a loss because it's a brand new A-frame. It looks amazing. It's in a short-term rental market where it's going to crush, and so nobody's going to sell it for less than what it's worth. But because I built it brand new from the ground up with others' help, contractors, and etc., and took the time to do that, I created something called equity. And that is a massive protection for me in what could be a future destabilized market, depending on what happens in our world, depending on what happens in the United States government, depending on what happens to the US dollar. Ground up construction is a hedge of protection. You walk into the deal, if done right, with equity. And so ground up construction, positive number one is equity creation. You create money by doing the deal. Now, once this cabin is finished, we can do something called a cash refinance and tap into that equity, a portion of that equity, and reinvest it, if we wanted to, into our next property. So kind of like the BRRRR strategy, you buy, you rent, rehab, you rent, refinance, and repeat. We are building ground up, creating equity, doing the refinancing there on the back end, and then washing and repeating on the next lot that we have purchased right next to the lot we currently are building on. And that's the idea of creating equity and creating pace to your money. So number one, equity creation. Number two, why ground up construction is a positive thing to do, why I recommend it, is the freedom of creativity. In a very competitive short-term rental market where everybody's got the grandma cookie cutter cabin in Smoky Mountains, everybody's got the grandma cookie cutter cabin in the Red River Gorge, basic D-log siding, 2-bed, 2-bath, Formica or butcher block countertop, prefabbed cabinetry, no accent walls, very basic, just blah, 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 white noise on the Airbnb platform. The idea of ground up construction is you are now free to create. There's nobody telling you on the land you are owning what you need to build on it, short of if you're building in an HOA where there may be restrictions. But that being said, the idea of ground up construction gives you the idea or the ability of creativity. If you're already buying a cabin that's built or a house that's already built, you're not very you don't have a lot of room to get creative. Now, unless you're buying maybe a worn down property, you're going to rehab it before you rent it. You might not be more apt. You may be able to be creative there. But if you're buying a pre-built cabin or a pre-built home and it's kind of is what it is, it's not going to probably be in your financial benefit to even do much to that property because it is what it is. It's going to cost you money. You need to get this thing renting. So there's not a lot of room to be creative. You're just looking something that fits your budget or that already kind of looks like what you want it. But if you're ground up building brand new, you can take up the idea of creativity in the beginning on the house plans you have drawn up or the plans you go with, or maybe you want to put a modular pool here and you want to put your hot tub over there, so you're going to build a deck there. There's the freedom to be creative. And that is the second big benefit in a competitive world of real estate investing, especially in short-term rentals, is the need to be creative in order to stand out, in order to maximize your property's ADR and ultimately the income it can make you every single year. Number three is a positive, and it's similar to creativity, that is flexibility as far as where you're going to buy your land, as far as what your budget can create for you. So if you're going to ground up build new, you can not only get creative, but you can become flexible on what lots you want to purchase. Because if you're looking on the market on like realtor.com or Zillow or talking to a local realtor, you are limited to what is on the market or what you might be able to find off market. But still, it's kind of what's already there. You can't really be flexible. You can't get creative. You can't do anything because you aren't the author of the situation. You're looking for someone else who's already built, who's already got that set up, and you're just wanting to come and buy it from them. And that really limits your available options. You cannot be flexible. You're limited to what's there for you to see and really what's there for everybody else to see. And in a market that's hot, where interest rates are going down, there's going to be a bigger pool of potential buyers. So you're really not going to be very flexible because there's just so much competition. And there isn't a lot being created for you to purchase from and pick from anyways, where build costs are so high, there isn't a lot of people even building necessarily in certain parts of the country. So the idea of flexibility is really there too when it comes to ground up construction, when it comes to it being a positive. Now, For the cons of ground up construction that I think are cons, that I have personally experienced as cons, number one is a slower pace to your money. You're going to be taking the money that you have saved up, probably buying land. You can use that land as the down payment or the lien hold on your construction loan at a bank, or you're taking that money as a down payment for a construction loan that you saved. And that money is now going to be tied up in a build project, which we said earlier can take usually upwards of 8 to 12 months. And so for 8 to 12 months, you're making payments on a loan, the construction loan, or whatever loan you may be needing to build this thing. And you're making payments, and there's not really any money coming back to you. Your money is tied up. It's stuck. Now, it's doing something. It's creating a property through the building process from the ground up here. But it's still 8 to 12 months before you're really going to start reaping much financial benefit back to you from doing that to begin with. Now, remember, there's a payout for that called equity, thanking you for taking that time. And it's a very big payout and a very smart thing to do, and a very big thank you to yourself for being patient. But 8 to 12 months, if your money needs to move faster, then you're not going to be able to go and buy a property that's already built and put it on the rental market in 2 weeks and be able to compete with that with ground up construction, where again, you're looking at 8 to 12 months before money is going to come back to you. So that's number one as a con, is a slower pace to your money. Number two is a huge learning curve when it comes to doing ground up construction. I came to ground up construction having never built a home, having never interacted with contractors to the extent that I have now, having never really learned even about how the home operates in many different ways and processes. And so I came at this very ignorant. Now that can be dangerous and has proven to be dangerous in my particular circumstance, but still it comes as a big risk because it is such a big learning curve. There's no amount, in my opinion, of reading books on how a house works that's going to make you even more prepared. What really it's going to come down to protect you here in this big learning curve is highly vetting contractors you use, calling their references, and verifying that they are fully licensed and legitimately insured, so you have a recourse to sue them if they do not uphold their end of these signed documents you have signed with them. Not going off word of mouth, but signing a contract with established understandings of what they're going to be doing for you and what you're paying them in return. Now that sounds complicated. Run it past the lawyer that you have with you before you sign any contract if that would make you feel more comfortable. And there's plenty out there that would be happy to do that with you if you open a running account with a lawyer's office where you can then run advice from them off of your legal documents to make sure that you're protected and your contractor is protected. But there's a big learning curve. So that's a potential negative to someone getting into this with little or no real estate experience. Number three, as a negative, is many decisions need to be made. You're going to choose doors. You're going to choose window color. You're going to choose siding color. You're going to choose where the bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchen is going to go. You're going to choose what types of maybe deck railing you want to use, or composite decking, or wood decking. You're going to choose a roof color. If you're using metal, for example, you're going to be choosing where you're going to build it because you're going to have to choose a lot to put it on when you go to buy land. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, whereas if you're looking for something already built, because the market kind of dictates that, it's already limited in its options on what you can choose to go with. And so there's a limitation as to what you can choose because of that reason. And there's just not as many decisions when you're talking about buying something that's already been built. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made. And if that makes you nervous to make a decision about many different things, then that might be a problem for you. Yes, Bob? This is my son, Abel. Say hello to everybody.
Hi.
This is Daddy's YouTube channel, full-time RN to full-time RE. I'm doing it for him. Do you need something?
Yeah. When I was erasing something.
Yeah.
The yellow marker.
Yeah.
It was already halfway ripped, and when I got to the other side, and when I accidentally pulled, it ripped.
Oh, that's bad.
So the eraser came off, but we could glue it back on.
That's okay. We'll fix it. You go on back out there and shut that door. Daddy'll be out there in just a second. Thank you so much. Yeah, we homeschool Abel, so he was talking about his homeschool markers. Thanks, Bob. The fourth con for ground-up construction, in my opinion, is managing those buildings for you. Again, my first video on this YouTube channel is how I lost $100,000 to a fraudulent contractor. It suffices to say, you're going to have to be watching over the people building for you. This is what you think. You're going to hire a general contractor to build your house, and you can be fairly hands-off because they know what they're doing. You signed a contract with them, and they're going to do their part of the bargain. Wrong. You have no idea what these guys are going to be doing unless you're there to verify it. I even recommend putting a deer cam on your property to watch your driveway where they're building your house. Maybe even putting one inside your cabin to make sure that whatever's being done is not shady. And I hate to be like that with people because you want to trust people, but you can't be ignorantly trusting people to the point of it being a fault in you or thinking that the better part of people is what's always going to come out, because it's not always going to be that way. That's why finding someone you can know, like, and trust, like our most previous video showed in forming partnerships, every partnership you form with a vendor is like a micro real estate partnership. You need to know your vendors, like your vendors or your contractors, and then be able to trust them. And the quickest way you do that is by talking with them on the phone and in person, calling their references that they give you and verifying that they are fully licensed and insured, and letting them know, hey, I'm going to be watching this. And you'll kind of start to know if they're going to be a good contractor for you or not, if they get mad or not when you start asking them questions and showing that you're going to be holding them accountable. If they show that they don't like that, definitely never sign anything with them, and do not let them build on your house because they have no intentions of your best interests at heart. And so be very careful. That can be a negative, managing those that build for you. And finally, the managing of the budget. As you're building a property, you're going to start out with, like we did, $285,000. And then you're going to build a foundation, and you're going to frame it. You're going to put a roof on it. Then you're going to put the insulation in. Then you're going to put the rough-in plumbing and electric. Then you're going to put in the cabinets, the floors, the paint, the AC work, the duct work, the finishing of the electric and plumbing. And all of this goes into taking money away from the budget. And as you go down through the project of building this cabin, you're going to start losing money because you're spending it on the property. And that is something that you're going to have to do, called managing the budget. I've not been the best at that, admittedly, and I've put too much trust in my contractors to stay according to budget. So part of this, me talking back to you as in a piece of advice, is to manage the budget. Get an Excel spreadsheet, and every single thing that is an expense, you then take it and subtract it from your top number on your Excel spreadsheet, whatever your loan is from the bank or a private money lender or a hard money lender, and then subtract that to show where you're at in the budget process. And that goes back to the beginning, before you start spending the first dime, is setting a budget with your general contractor, or if you're going to be GCing it yourself, is figuring out roughly what things are going to cost. How much is the square footage of this house? How much is the flooring I like going to cost? What's the plumber going to budget me for this house? What's the electrician going to budget me for this house? What's the well going to probably run me for this cabin, etc.? And set up all those expenses on an Excel spreadsheet before you ever start the building process, so you know what your budget roughly needs to be for each item. That way, as you go through this process, you stay according to the bids and budget you pre-planned for. That way, that when you get towards the bottom of the project, when it comes to buttoning the project up, if you got a little bit of money left over, you might be able to become a little bit more unique in what you do with your build project, whether or not that's buying a nicer fireplace or doing some nicer flooring or doing some interesting murals here and there in the property to paint accent walls, or doing some wood accents here or there within the property, such as the cabin, to make it look better. And so as you go through this, it could be a negative for you to be responsible for managing a budget. So as you can see, ground up construction is significantly more involved, in my opinion, when it comes to getting this project from a raw piece of land to a property ready to put on Airbnb. But what you get paid for all that effort and all of that time that you've had to think about it more, is what was the equity you're paid for on that back end, that $100,000 of generated equity. That's essentially what I'm paid through going through all this other work, which really, when I think about how much time it takes me to do all that, managing my contractors, managing the budget, managing the learning curve, being willing to have a slower pace to my money, that payback of $100,000 is exactly what I would get paid per year as a travel nurse. And that's working 3 to 4 12-hour shifts a week, sleeping in a Airbnb bed, not even my own bed, 2 to 3 nights a week. That is way more time in my W-2 career than the time it takes for me to generate $100,000 in equity through going through some of these, what might be considered or looked at as negatives when it comes to ground up construction. What is my final opinion in this matter? I highly recommend recommend you go with ground up construction if you can manage the pace of money being slower in those initial phases. If you take my advice of manage your contractor, set up a very clear sense of budget, and managing and staying on top of that through the project's completion, you're golden. And I think that it would be something that would be more in your benefit to do ground up construction. What would I say if you shouldn't do that? Well, if your W-2 career is perhaps so involved that you literally have no time to do anything, you have no time to, you couldn't even comprehend the mindset of managing a contractor, calling them, making sure they're doing their thing, maybe checking up on your build project a few times a month, or making sure the project is staying according to budget. If that's something you just don't want nothing to do with, then maybe ground up construction would not be in your best interest, and that's okay. It's whatever fits you and wherever you're at in life and whatever your goals personally are. So that's my opinion today on the pros and the cons of ground up construction. This is Bluegrass Rentals of EKY, Zachary Humphrey, going from full-time registered nurse to full-time real estate investor, regardless of how long that takes. Please hit the subscription bell down below. Leave a comment. Have you ever done ground up construction? What do you think about it? That would really help my channel to grow as I seek to reach others with educational content surrounding real estate investing. Again, I appreciate you being here. Have a good day. God bless you guys.